It's always a party at Patchworks. Let's get this party started. Woot, woot. Hi, everyone. This is Julie from Patchworks, and I am so excited that you're joining us for another Must Sew TV tonight here at Patchworks. So it is June, and we let Tammy go on vacation. So I'm wild and crazy here behind the camera tonight, and we are going to have a really great time talking about Free Spirit Club and Toes in the Sand, and then we're going to show you some new stuff. So all sorts of really great stuff. I have the chat screen right in front of me, so if anyone wanted to type any questions along the way, I can see your comments. I'm not necessarily able to see all of them in real time, but I'd be more than happy to answer your questions along the way, and I hope we have a lot of fun tonight. So we have a crazy month this month where we pushed the Free Spirit back because we were waiting to get a little bit extra new fabric, and I want to show you what we have. So let's take a peek overhead. And you can see here we have three gorgeous options. So we got in some new Tim Holtz here. So we have put together some of these eclectic elements. Now these are not new, but they are new to us here. So I wanted to make sure that we had the opportunity to have this really nice neutral, since that really seems to be popular with Tim Holtz. We put that together as a 12-pack, available either as the fat eighths, or of course if you need to get the fat quarters, we have those as well. We have some new provisions back in stock, which are his splatters, and so we'll be featuring that next month. We have the Tula Tiny True Colors. We have the dots and the stripes. And so Free Spirit must have been listening to us that we like things in multiples of 12. So you can see this gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous rainbows of dots. And these are the tiny dots. So we have the neon pink here, and the neon pink is also here. But I really like the combination of colors. And then we have the tiny stripes here as well. So just for reference, the 10th stripe is that size. So as you can see, that is significantly larger than the tiny stripes. And we have them available as your club pack. So there's 12 tiny stripes, 12 tiny dots. You can choose one month and choose one a subsequent month, or if you must have them all right now, you can buy a second pack. And those are our 3 packs this month. We have in transit a Halloween line Scaredy Cat from Free Spirit that will be included in our July offerings, as well as the additional Tim Holtz. And then we will have some Tiny Beasts offering for our Tula. And then who knows what kind of cape that we're going to be getting in before our next club. So those are just really great options for our club members. And if any of you who are not club members have seen one of these packs that you thought you wanted to have, well, please by all means let us know, because we'd love to hook you up with either a fat eighth or fat quarter pack. $24.99, $44.99. I just want to have a little shout out here. So I'm wearing a Tula headband here. So Karen had made me this really cool headband a couple summers ago, and I just want to share with you that any of our Renaissance ribbons here that we have would be fabulous. And so there is the decorative ribbon on the front, and then there is a velour kind of a velvety ribbon on the back side, and then a little bit of elastic. And it works really well, and works especially well on these frizzy summer days so that we can tame down our hair, or maybe if we're in between some color appointments or such, so that we can just have a nice easy summer. So since it was tulle, I thought I had to wear it for you, and I just love it, and we have some really great ribbons if you had wanted to make your own. So before we get into the toes in the sand, I think we need to look a little bit more at the Tiny True Colors, Tiny Beasts, pre-cuts, kits, all those great things, because we haven't had the opportunity to meet since they all came in. I know I've posted on social media and things, and a lot of you have come in for shopping, but we haven't had the opportunity to share with all of you, so I thought that I would share it. Okay, so for the Tiny Beasts, there are 14 amazing fabrics, and I know we have been flying through the fabrics in store. We are going to be receiving more bolts. They have not quite left the warehouse yet, but we do have more coming in, so you don't have to worry that you missed out on anything. So I'm going to hop overhead so that we can see here our great fabrics. So we have, and I should know all of our fabrics by name, but I don't have them all. I just call them little ladybugs here. And we have 2 color stories. So cute here. So this secret animal here, there's a fox in there. You can see. And then we have our little mouse. John Deere, or Dear John. Love the deer. Cute little squirrel hopping around, eating all our acorns. We have the bear. So sad to hear about the bear that got stuck on the freeway here in Milwaukee. Made me so sad. Then we have the squirrel. Little raccoon eating an apple core. And then we're going to hop into, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We had a repeat in there. So we have a total of 14 in here. The deer, raccoon, another bear, and then here, so we have, oh, did I call him a mouse? I called him a mouse. You know, you can't trust me here. So beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So these are the 14. So you have the 14, the 12, and the 12. Okay, so that's a lot of new tulle that's come in here. We have the collection available, all combined. We have a manufacturer's fat quarter tower. I'm not sure how many more of these we have. And this is $72.99, and this one is the glow, so it actually isn't everything here, it's just one colorway of it. Then we have the Tiny Beast and Tiny True Color. We have the design roll of all of it, which is super awesome. Super, super awesome seeing them all combined. We have that same combination in the 5-inch as well as 10-inch squares. Then we have some Patchworks pre-cuts here. So we have all the tiny coordinates in half yards, We have them in the fat quarters. And then we have them in full yard glory. You can see how beautiful they are. If you were needing any other towers pre-cut of Tiny Beasts, we will put you on the list so that we can make sure that we get them to you as soon as we get the rest of the yardage. I believe we're out of 1 or 2 of them on the bolt right now, but we are, as I said, getting more of everything. There is a wide back that comes along with it, so you have the giant ladybug, and this is just gorgeous. We had a customer come to pick some up yesterday because she was making pillowcases out of this. So this gorgeous sateen finish, she wanted to have a Tula pillowcase. And the ladybugs are in like a rainbow ombre here. So we go from yellow to orange to red, red into pink, purple, green, back to yellow. And so it just continues and is gorgeous. You can see if you watch Tula online, she's done some fancy fussy cutting and included the large ladybugs in quilts, in a quilt block. So that is super fun. And we also have seen, if you are part of Julie Herman's Toes in the Sand Quilt Along group on Facebook, there are some people who have fussy cut the ladybug as one of their fussy cut pieces, and they've replaced some of the original squares. So that is really fun to be able to make the quilt your own, and you would be able to choose whichever color went or was to your liking. This also comes in a alternate color, and we are looking to get more back in stock. So it's crazy. You never know. Sometimes we have stuff that we buy a ton of and we hang on to it for a really long time. And then there's cases like this where we buy a ton of it and it just flies out the door. So that's super exciting, and we love to get more. And so just let us know what we can help you get, because it's still new. The other thing that came with this collection is the Nutty Quilt Kit. And this is a quilt kit that was designed by Tula, and it features Tiny Beasts, Tiny True Colors, and solids. The quilt finishes 75 by 87. The pattern is exclusive to the kit. Okay, so you have to get this kit in order to get this pattern. And you can see this is just a really great way to build up lots of gorgeous stash here of the Tula fabrics. And the pattern is for making this super cute acorns and then this really cool vine border. So really nice. She's using the neon pink polka dot for the background. So you can take that inspiration for the next quilt that you're making and use that polka dot for your background instead of using a plain white. This quilt kit is $229.99. So did anybody come to scoop up is anybody who's watching came to scoop up their Tiny Beasts yet? I know there were quite a few of you who stopped in already to get them, because you were waiting for so long for it to come in. So excited for that to have arrived. I'm just going to clean this up, and then we are going to talk about our Toes in the Sand Block 6. So we can admire the quilt behind us. A special thank you to Julie Herman for having loaned us this quilt for a few weeks. We were so honored to be able to hang it in the foyer of our shop and have lots of people come and visit it and admire it. If you have seen it and you thought, you know what, I think I do need to make it, we are still able to hook you up with fabric to make the quilt. So we are only on block 6 right now in our quilt along, and that's the same block that Julie Herman is. All of her videos are up on the internet, and so you would be able to catch all of the educational content that she's provided along the way. The pattern is available as well as a standalone pattern if you were interested in simply picking up the pattern and choosing your own fabrics. Maybe you wanted to use a little bit of the Daydreamer, but maybe some Tiny Beasts. Maybe you have some fabric at home that you would like, and that you just use this color wash look as your sample for how you would put your blocks together. So lots and lots and lots of things here so that you can put your blocks together. All right, so I have block 6. Let me quick open up to the page here and make sure I'm showing you the right one. Okay, so block 6. Block 6 we have here. So this particular one is the block that someone had substituted ladybugs. Okay, so this is the jewel shape here, and you can see how nicely that ladybug would fit in, right? Wouldn't that be cool? So you could do that, and then there's still the points that come down here, but you could fussy cut this and put in giant ladybugs, and that could be a lot of fun. So if you had wanted to, you could just pick up a 1/4 yard or 1/3 yard of the wide back to be able to fussy cut this and put it in some pieced blocks. So this particular block, you have a unit that is the jewel with 2 small triangles, and then you have the center triangle that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 smaller equal triangles. So this particular piece, you had the same 2 fabrics, but you have like opposites here. So the light here is the outside here, and then the dark, which is the center squares here, is your outside blocks here. So a total of 4 fabrics for these 2 squares, triangles. And this particular block, because we're using the same fabric, so this particular kit, you did get 4 fabrics in your block kit. So this one would not yield you all 4 if you were making the queen size. You would need to get extra of your solids. You should be able to be just fine with your accent fabrics, but you would need more of your solid. But I know a lot of you have a lot of Tula solid stash at home, so that's not a problem if you are making the larger size. And of course, if you had other fabric, you could totally make it your own, and there's no need to follow the rules exactly if you wanted to change it up and add your own element of interest to differentiate your quilt from the crowd. Any questions on the toes that we've been working on? So I think almost everyone picked up their blocks if you're doing it. We do have a couple left for pickup. I believe we shipped them all out as well. If you were for shipping, please let me know. It's been a wild and crazy month. If for some reason your Toes block didn't end up in the mail and it was supposed to, or if you need it in the mail because, well, you just can't get here and you are chomping at the bit to sew, we'd be more than happy to hook you up. And if you had wanted to just start, we can get you started. So we have people, since we're kind of midway through the year, we've had some starters this past month who have caught up, and so they just took months 1 through 6 right now, and then they'll continue month by month with the rest of the year. Or we do have, I think, 1 complete kit right here if somebody just needed the whole thing to go home with. I'm just going to take a sip of water here and just glance and make sure that nobody has anything here. So, hello, happy Thursday. So great to see so many people logged on. This is so exciting. So today, we're going to do something a little different for our project, okay? During the afternoons, I have been spending all week doing summer camp for 9 through 12, 13-year-olds. And we have been spending the week hand piecing. And I had thought, you know what, that would be just a really great lesson to share with you. I know it might seem basic, but it is really great refresher and reminder, and especially now that we're in the summer. The thing that I like about this is that I'm not huge into English paper piecing and I don't knit. So this gives us the opportunity to have some handwork to bring with us to either take in the car, or if you're flying on a plane, or if you want to be sitting outside and don't want to be trying to lug a machine around. You know, any pattern at all can be turned into a hand piecing. And a few years ago, we had a customer, Amanda, and she always came into the store and she was always busy hand piecing. And I was like, wow, that is so much work. But you know what? When you sit down and do it, it isn't necessarily. I mean, if you're taking advantage of doing a whole bunch of chain piecing and stuff, yes, you can't do that when you're hand piecing. But for a small PC block, it's not a problem at all. So what we're going to do is that we're just going to, I'm going to demonstrate hand piecing a 4-patch, and then I'm going to show you how to simply finish that, especially if you wanted to share this project with a young or new quilter in your life, and it's just a fun little project. So, and this is what I have been working on, and we'll finish up with my new friends tomorrow. So let's look overhead. All right, so we're going to be using 2.5-inch squares, and I'm also going to be sharing in our printed handouts Leah Day, who is a fabulous online quilt instructor. She has a really great hand piecing tutorial that I'm going to share with the club members, but it's Leah Day. It's Leah Day, D-A-Y, on her YouTube channel, and she has a really great thing. She uses larger squares for making her 4-patch, but I thought that, you know, starting with the small size is really great. Plus, you might have some scraps left over. So you could just chop up scraps. You could chop up 2.5-inch strips. You could chop up a pre-cut like a charm pack and just quarter that. So I quartered a charm pack, and one of you lucky viewers with liking and sharing or commenting will receive the balance of the charm pack as well as a couple of other goodies that we're doing. So I'm just going to pick out 4 fabrics here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, beautiful. Then what we're going to do is I'm going to flip them wrong side over, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark them. There's a couple of different ways you can mark them. I'm just going to take my favorite quick quarter ruler and my Soline ceramic lead pencil, and I am just going to put in some 1/4 inch lines here. So it seems to be a little tedious. If you have a 1/4 inch dot marker, great. If you are super proficient at this, you wouldn't have to do this, but I really recommend, especially getting started, that you want to, that you want to do this. Okay. So what I had done with my students is that we actually had a little template that I made for everyone that had the little dots, and then they just connected the lines. For your needle and thread, you can use things that you have available to you. If you were picking up new thread, I would take the Aurifil 40 weight. Okay, and why the 40 weight? Well, I would take the 40 weight because it's a little bit thicker, okay? If you wanted to use a regular ruler, you could. If you wanted to put on 1/4 inch tape, you could do that too. I'm making this a little darker than what I would do if I were not showing this on screen. All right, and I probably should have prepped 1 or 2 of this before so we don't have to watch all 4, but you know what? It's only 4. So, all right, and then we have this last one. So the other question is, why aren't we only doing one side? And we want to do both sides because, or all 4 in it, because when we connect them to each other, we want to make sure that no matter which way we're looking, we have that 1/4 inch reference. Okay, so I have made lines here, and I am going to put 2 of them together. Okay, make 2 pairs. When I'm using pre-cuts like this, I don't chop off my edge here, but you can see a pre-cut is a convenience cut. So they aren't exactly 5 inches. They're almost 5 inches. So just keep that in mind if you are ever using pre-cuts. My favorite sewing needle. I love, love, love the Tulip needles. Now I just grabbed the sharp needle, and our lucky winner tonight is going to get this open container of Tulip sewing needles. This is an assorted container of 7, 8, and 9 size. And I love how it comes in this super cool little tube. And the Tulip needles are really nice and pointy, which I love. Nice and sharp. Pointy is a very technical term. For my thread, if you are not familiar with the Aurifil, this end cap comes off so that you can freely take off your thread. And when you are sewing, you want to make sure you take this cap off so that so that this doesn't impede your thread pulling off of the spool. Okay, now when you are taking your needle, when you're threading your needle, we do not want to be a lazy seamstress or lazy tailor. We are going to take a length of thread the wrist to our nose. Okay, so that's not a technical term. It's dependent on our wingspan, okay? So I probably should have scissors here. So I'm guessing you want a little scissor that's smaller than that. This is just what I have available right now. And we are going to thread the needle. Oh. So, da-da-da, ha-ha. And for this, what we're going to do, oftentimes I stitch with a single thread, but in this case, I'm going to do double thread. There's a lot of different ways to do a knot, and I know a lot of people tell me, Julie, there's easier ways to do this, but I just knotted at the bottom, twice around my finger, put it through my nail, not through my nail, along my nail, and then I stitch. So let's look overhead now. And when we're stitching, we are going to come up at our 1/4 inch. Okay, so we're coming up at our 1/4 inch here. Okay, then we're going to back stitch, come back, come up through where we started, and then we can do fine little running stitch. And you can rock your needle, do it however you feel comfortable, okay? Want to make sure that we have some nice stitches here. Okay, let me take my finger away. You probably could go closer than what I'm going. You wouldn't want to go farther apart. Okay? And when we get to the end, we are going to come back, make sure it's nice and flat. If you've gathered it, if you've done a rocked your running stitch the whole way, make sure you flatten this out with your fingernails. Come back, and we're going to tie off on the end. I just came like this, and then we're just going to end it, we'll tie it off. I'm going to go under, so I'm going to go loop, loop, and pull it tight. And then we're going to take our giant scissors, because that's what I had handy, and trim off our ends. Okay, finger press. Okay, and you can see here as I pull it that it's really nice. Okay, you have a nice seam. Because we're hand sewing, we are pressing to one side. If you know me, you know that I like to press open. In a case where I'm hand piecing, we press to one side. And you can use your fingernails if you'd like to press it over to one side. You can also take it to an iron, but if you're mobile, you don't have an iron, so you just bring that up. So what you're going to be doing with your 4 patches is that you're going to be making a bunch of pairs. So I am just going to quick rethread my needle, and I'm going to make a second one, okay? And then we'll look at quick putting it together. And then I'll show you how you can finish a small project. So you can use a needle threader if that makes your life easier. I didn't grab one here. So we are just relying on my eyes here. Oh my goodness. See real life here. All right, I did it. Yay, I did it. Okay. Wrap my thread around the finger a couple times, and I come in. Be careful not to stab yourself. Of course, there's a bunch of different ways to do that overhand knot. And once again, we're going to come in at that 1/4 inch intersection right there. Go back, do a little back stitch, and then we're going to do our running stitch again. Can do tight, don't have to do super tight, The 40 weight thread I'm using from Aurifil is a nice 100% cotton thread. I do have a double thick or double threaded here for strength, as well as if you are in the car, it's really nice to not have to worry about, is your needle going to be flying off the tail of the thread, you know, because that is just the worst. Now, a nice helpful tip is that if you are going to be doing this in the car, I recommend preparing all of your needles first, okay? And then we actually have a super cool gadget here that I didn't bring over for demonstration called the threaded needle dome, where you can wind up your needles, and that is a super efficient way for managing your needles. Okay, so we have that guy there, and then I'm just going to do one more where I connect the two. Yes, it is really, really relaxing, and that's why I said, you know, so often I just poo-pooed this, and the thing about this is that, like, if you're going to do counted cross stitch, you have to follow a pattern. If you are doing, so English paper piecing can also be really relaxing. For me, it's not my favorite. I don't know why, it's just not. Plus, I also feel like you need to have a little bit more precision for wrapping everything around those foundations super nice. And then you have to remove papers and blah, blah, blah. So this is really a nice thing. And you can just make a whole bunch of these 4 patches. So we're going to put these together here. And how I have this is that I have it so that we have it nested, one going that way, one going that way. You can use a pin if that makes your life more helpful. And I'm going to then just finish this up where I come in at this 1/4 inch. I'm going to back stitch there. Now, if you for some reason skip something, you can even go in and do some sort of like tacking stitch. And of course, it's a little bit less awkward if you're not trying to have the camera catch your movements. Really nice for your lap. And you can just imagine just making a whole nice little stack of 4 patches. And you know what? There is no reason why you could not even make the 4 patches by hand and then construct a quilt by machine with those 4 patches. There is absolutely no reason why you couldn't do that. And then if you're familiar with doing this hand piecing, you know, I'm looking at some of those tiny little blocks for our Block Bonanza sampler that we're doing. We'll be talking about that next week. But, you know, I was thinking for some of those complicated blocks, wouldn't that be great to just really precision piece those hand-pieced blocks? And then you wouldn't have to worry about those intersections coming together. So yes, Karen, you absolutely can do it with triangles. And what I'm going to do, because we're talking about this, is next week with our Aurifil Club, and then we're also going to be talking about Block Bonanza, I'm going to demonstrate part of the hand piecing with a triangle in there. So make sure to tune in next week or catch the recap of that. So anything you could machine piece, you could hand piece. And especially if you're having a little bit of trouble with those triangles, you know, you are able to completely precision piece this. You're going to have perfect, perfect, perfect seam allowances, right? So there's no trimming down. So how fabulous is that? And a bonus, you get to enjoy some sunshine maybe while you're doing it. All right, we're just going to end here, come through. I'm going to end it, 1, 2, pull it tight. So that wasn't too painful, was it? Open this up. And look at that. I have nice 4-patch here that went together super, super easily. It's nice and flat. So what can you do with these? Well, I went ahead and before our presentation today, I put together 4 4-patches because this is what we're making with our little group of quilters that are learning to quilt. So we're making a little mug mat, and I thought, you know what, this is super great. So we're also hand finishing that project because we don't have access to machines for that class. So what we do is that we take our 16 patch, so we make them 4, 4, 4, 4, then we sew 2 together, and then these together. Put a piece of batting in there that's the same size as our block. We're going to pin baste it. Let's see what I did with my pins. Here they are. So safety pin. We're going to safety pin here through all of the layers in our little intersections here. So, you know, making little projects like this could just be really fun. And depending if you wanted to even embellish with people's initials, or I don't know, could do different fabrics, all your scraps. This is just a really fun way, relaxing way to do something else with fabric. And then one last one. Okay, so this is nice and tight. I would prefer using safety pins to straight needles, especially if you're working with it in the car, because you don't want to poke yourself, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to quilt it with some floss. So using our Orifloss, which is an embroidery floss, like your DMC or Presencia. It's a 6-stranded cotton floss. I am going to take 2 strands from it. You could also tie it. You could do a variety of different things. If you have a partner to help you hold on to one of your ends while you're separating it, that goes much easier. In class, we were doing that where we were working with partners to have them separate their threads. Once again, you don't want to be too long. Okay, I'm just, for purposes of this, I'm going to trim this off. I have faith you could do it better. I just don't want you to have to worry about watching me. Okay. Then I'm going to take a larger needle. So you could use I just happen to have a larger eye needle here in my little needle nest that I'm going to use. A little needle threader is also very helpful if you need it. Now for this one, I'm only going to put in part of it, and I'm still only using a double threaded. So, I mean, if you had wanted to, you could simply put a single strand and then double it so that you don't have to worry about losing your needle. Tie it nice. You can bury your knot. And then what I'm going to, so I'm just going to bury the knot here. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a long stitch, and I'm going to go in between every one. Okay. So you can use your hand behind it if you had a surface. So if you had a clipboard on your lap while you're working, so you don't have to have your hand underneath, you can do that. This is a little bit of a duller embroidery needle. Maybe I should have made a better needle choice. You still want a nice sharp one, you just want to have one with a little bit larger eye, and the sewing needles that I brought over did not have a larger eye. Okay, so when you have a sharper needle, you can more easily track through and do in a rocking motion. Okay, so I'm just going to pick it up so that I can go across one way and show you how that would look. If you had wanted to draw lines, you absolutely can. If you want to use a painter's tape or a washi tape for marking, you can do that too. Oh goodness, I need a better needle. And you can see with my blocks that I put together, I have them facing all sorts of different directions. All right, so I'm not going to torture you while I'm struggling here, because when I'm struggling, I'm also not getting it to be super straight. But you can see here what we're doing. Okay. You could also do a decorative embroidery stitch if you had wanted to, as you're doing that. And what I intend to do to finish this off is I'm going to stitch here and here and here and here. So I'll do a total of 16 lines, okay? And then from a binding perspective, my backing, so this was 8.5 inches. I cut a back piece 10.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is roll over. I can show you here. Going to roll. And you'll want to use just a little bit of care when you're doing this so that it just finishes nicely. Okay. So we're just going to roll over the end. Now we don't roll over our ends often when we do bed quilts because we want to make sure that the binding lasts as long as our quilt. But for some little fun project like this, where we don't have to worry about it wearing out, you can absolutely just roll the edges like this, tuck it under, okay? You could use Wonder Clips, you could use pins, whatever you are comfortable with, okay? You can do a blind stitch, but what I thought would be more fun, and let me see if I can get this needle happening with a piece of floss here. I'm going to try it where I do a single piece of floss and then I'm going to double it like we had when we were stitching, okay? Because this little needle that I have, without a needle threader, I wouldn't be able to get a double strand in with my naked eyes. So the question is, do I recommend floss over quilting thread? So for a fun project like this, floss is great. We don't have a huge selection of quilting thread in the store, so we have lots of floss in the store. So a floss or thread would be great. If you have a quilting thread, especially if you're making a bed quilt, that would be, of course, preferable. But if you have a small craft project like this or a small sewing project, floss would be just fine. And I'm all for many times using what you have. So, I mean, of course, we want to make sure that we have things to have our project work, but sometimes you can get away with multiple different things. So what I thought would be fun is to do like a decorative X. And so I was going to go across this way. So a little bit more of a cross stitch kind of finish. So not a blind stitch like we normally do, but more of a decorative stitch I thought would be fun. So you would go across the whole way, going a little diagonal that way. I'll do just a couple more and then I'll come back to show you how that would look. just, you know, to change it up. Of course, the blind stitch is always a gorgeous way to finish a project, and if I was using a blind stitch, I would use a traditional cotton thread rather than a floss. But for this organic, handmade looking project, I thought it would be fun to do something like this. Okay, so then I'm going to come back. You would go all the way across, but I'm just going to come back here, making my X's. And I'm going through all my layers when I'm doing this. So when it's pin basted, you really could bind it first and quilt it later for something small like this. Whatever gives you great pleasure. But you would want to quilt it, especially because you want to make sure it stays down. So you can see here how I did this fun decorative finish on this. So that is just a fun little way to finish that off. And of course you could finish any wall hanging or something with that type of finish. I wouldn't recommending finish a bed quilt with a finish like that because you want to make sure when you wash it, it's not going to come apart. Okay, so this is just something that we know is more of a craft project and is going to be decorative. So we're not worried about it going through the ringer or having to withstand crazy use. So I hope you learned something and think that's a little fun. So that's our lesson for today. We are going to be, so if you had wanted more information on hand quilting, Leah Day is a great resource, and I'm just going to type that for you right here. So Leah Day, I don't have the link in front of me, but Leah Day has great hand piecing. She also has great machine quilting tutorials. Okay, here we go. So one of you is going to get all of these 2 10-stripe fat quarters and the rest of the vial of tulip sewing needles, assorted sizes 7, 8, and 9. So in this particular little vial here, we have several needles. I should know how many, but we have several. And we have 8 pieces in here, and it is $9.60. So you'll want to make sure that you comment, like, all the good stuff so that we can draw your name for those. Okay, so before I let you go, if you hadn't watched, I think last Friday, I showed you a whole bunch of new fabric around the store. Lots of additional fabric has come in as well. So I just want a quick recap. We have a couple new Nomies that I know that a lot of you like, and we got some new Alexander Henry today that we're going to pull out of the box. So let's quick check overhead and let's look at some gnomes. So this is the Timber Gnomes Tree Farm from Alexander Henry, not Alexander, Henry Glass, which is a Jaftex company. And Jaftex owns Free Spirit as well. So we have the nice border stripe. And you can see this guy here. So it's related to that fun panel that we had in last year. We have some great coordinates. So we have some trees that kind of look like an argyle, a diagonal plaid, some great snowflakes, tossed reindeer with Nomies on top of reindeers, candy cane stripe. this fun guy here with a log cabin. Another diagonal plaid. Tossed Timber Tree Farm little classic trucks with the little trees in them. Henry Glass does a lot of these patch kind of prints. So this is really nice. And then rounding it out with these other coordinates. There are 3 panels that come with this line. We have stockings, which are super cute. I don't know if we can see it all underneath here. So we have stockings. You can make 2 different stockings. So you have the back and the front. If you chose to make them into 4 stockings, you would have 2 right and 2 left. And then the other design is the gnome for Christmas. He's in a little truck there. We have the traditional 24 by 44 panel here that you could finish off with just a border, or use this for you could just use that on the door. And then we also have blocks, which can go together into a little quilt. So these would be, I believe, 10-inch blocks here. So you get 6 in the package. So that is Timber Gnomies. We got some Timeless Treasure Gnomes, which are super cute. All the gnomes. We just keep on ordering all the gnomes now that I know that you all love the gnomes. So we have 6 pieces here. You have this guy, the packed gnomes. We have some red and white snowflakes. We have some tossed gnomes. Some mini tossed gnomes. And then 2 coordinates. We have some great hot chocolate print that goes with it. Look at that, so cute. And then a super cute plaid. I think I'm a little behind with getting this up on the website. If there's anybody who needs anything, please let me know, either via this page, text me, or email me, or call me, or stop in. And last but not least, I do have to show you some brand new Alexander Henry. So Alexander Henry is the funky fabric that has the gold label. We got in a bunch of Gastleys last week, and we have some additional fabrics that just came today. So we have these cute cats dressed up in all holiday style. I know there's a few of you who just need to have it. And if dogs are your thing instead, I have you covered. Super cute. Then we have the Ghastly Christmas just arrived. Yay! So the Ghastly Christmas is super cool if you like the crazy Ghastlies. Look at that. So amazing. So love, 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 love these crazy characters. So awesome. So awesome. So we have lots of coordinates in the store as well. So we have the rose. We have the gray. Same print, other color. We have this really awesome green. Okay. Really cool. And then in the other box here, this is craziness. Okay, we're moving into the adult themed section of the evening. So we have some pinup men, because you know we need all the men. Bring on the gourd times. Falling for you. You are the apple of my pie. Oh my goodness. All right, so we have lots of men here, which are super awesome to make a pillowcase for someone, put on the back of your quilt. Super crazy, super fun. We have that available in all 3 colorways because I know my pinup crowd loves the pinups. So we have the cream background as well as the black background. Super awesome. Then we have a coordinate, which is a super awesome squares. Okay, so this is the first time that we're seeing a coordinate with any of our pinups. So it's a lot of the a little kind of sassy phrases that go along with there that you could either use together or separate. And then one last piece in my Alexander Henry box that came today, and that is the classic white background of our Ghastly Christmas. Super awesome and super spectacular. So, quick question was, how big are those squares for this one here? So let me get out my yardstick. Those squares are 5 1/4 by they're shy of 7 1/2. So they were probably supposed to be 5 1/2 by 7 1/2, and then with printing ended up shrinking up a little bit. So you'll get a generous 5 1/4 by a generous 7 1/4. All right. And you absolutely could use them for pot holders. They could be fun, narrow pot holders. Or you could border, probably what I would do is border them out. And that would be really great to make them for pot holders. That would be super fun. And you know, you could be sassy. So for those of you that remember, we had Susie make some super spectacular pot holders a while back with the men on the front and something on the back. So you could put the pictures of the men on one side and then the fun square on the other side. That could be super fun and super sassy. So Diane, yeah, that's a really good idea for doing that. So lots of great things that are, or table hot mats, of course. So I want to thank you for tuning in today. We have a lot of things coming in every single day right now, which is really exciting. So we'll take all the new fabric we can get while we're getting it. And if you are doing the Wisconsin State Shop Hop that goes through the 30th, just wanted to let you know we do have, to my surprise, all of the fabrics still available. Not a ton of it, but we do have everything still available. We still have our blocks, and we did put together some Section 8 finishing kits if you were making the sampler kit, or sampler quilt where you picked up all the blocks from our fellow Section 8 stores. I believe a couple of those stores ran out of kits, so they requested that we put some together, so we did. And if you were needing to turn in your passports, make sure to turn them in by close of business on Thursday the 30th. Okay, so, and for the last thing I want to share with you, I'll be posting and sharing this with you as well. For the July 4th holiday, we will be closed on Saturday, July 2nd to allow all of the Quilty staff to have an extended weekend to celebrate with their family and friends. So I'll be posting that as well for you to be able to have a heads up. We are open regular business hours all the way up until then though. So thank you for tuning in. You have a great night. Stop in to see all the amazing stuff. Happy quilting, and we'll see you soon.